Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UHS Endeavour and watched the alien ship grow larger on the main screen. His heart beat fast, but his hands stayed steady on the command chair. This was the moment humanity had waited for since they first reached the stars. First contact with another intelligent species. The alien vessel was beautiful in a strange way. It looked like someone had carved it from black stone and covered it with silver lines that glowed with soft light. The ship was twice the size of the Endeavour and shaped like a blade cutting through space. Jake had seen many human ships, but nothing like this. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez turned from her station. Her dark hair was tied back and her brown eyes showed excitement mixed with worry. She was the best xenobiologist in the fleet and had spent years preparing for this moment. "Captain, they are responding to our greeting signals," Maya said. "The translation computer is working on their language, but it will take time." Jake nodded. "Keep trying. Send them our peaceful intentions again. Make sure they know we come in friendship." The crew worked quietly around him. Everyone knew how important this moment was. One wrong move could start a war between two civilizations. Jake had read every first contact protocol in the human database. He knew the rules: stay calm, show respect, and never make sudden movements. The alien ship moved closer. Jake could see details now. The hull had patterns carved into it that looked like writing, or maybe art. Small lights blinked along the edges in colors he had never seen before. Whatever these beings were, they had technology that was far ahead of human science. "Sir, they are sending a ship," the communications officer called out. "It is small, maybe a shuttle." Jake watched the smaller craft leave the alien ship. It moved without any visible engines, floating through space like it was swimming through water. The shuttle headed straight for the Endeavour. "They want to board us," Maya said. She checked her readings again. "The shuttle has life signs. 3 beings, maybe 4. Their biology is different from ours, but they breathe oxygen." Jake made his decision. "Open the main docking bay, but keep security teams ready. If this goes wrong, I want our people protected." The alien shuttle docked with a soft sound that vibrated through the ship. Jake left the bridge and walked to the docking bay with Maya beside him. His security chief wanted to come, but Jake said no. Too many armed humans might look like a threat. The docking bay was large and empty except for a few crew members who stood back near the walls. Jake and Maya waited in the center of the room. The alien shuttle door opened with a hiss of air. The first alien to step out was tall and moved like a dancer. Her skin was pale blue and covered with small scales that caught the light. She had 4 arms, and her face was long, with large eyes that glowed gold. She wore armor that looked like it was made from the same material as her ship. Behind her came 2 more aliens, who looked like soldiers. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The weapons looked dangerous, but the aliens kept them lowered. The tall alien stepped forward. When she moved, Jake could see she was female, though different from human women. She looked at Jake with those golden eyes, and he felt like she was reading his thoughts. Jake raised his hands slowly, palms facing forward. It was the universal human sign for peace. He had practiced this moment 100 times. The alien female stopped walking. Her eyes went wide, and her 4 hands moved to the weapon at her side. The 2 soldiers behind her raised their weapons and pointed them at Jake. "Maya, what did I do wrong?" Jake whispered without moving his lips. Maya's voice was tight with fear. "I don't know. Maybe raising your hands means something different to them." The tall alien female drew her weapon. It was a blade that glowed with blue light and hummed like an angry insect. She held it steady and pointed it at Jake's chest. Her golden eyes burned with anger. "I think she wants to fight me," Jake said quietly. The alien said something in her language. The words sounded like music, but the tone was clearly a challenge. She took another step forward, and the blade moved closer to Jake's throat. Jake did not move. He could feel sweat on his forehead, but he kept his hands up and his body still. Any sudden movement might make her attack. Behind him, he heard Maya breathing fast. The alien female looked at Jake's face, then at his hands, then at his chest. Her eyes moved down to his arms, and suddenly she stopped. The blade stayed near his throat, but she was no longer looking at his face. She was staring at his left arm. Jake wore his uniform with short sleeves, and his tattoo was clearly visible. The tattoo covered most of his left arm from wrist to shoulder. It was not just decoration. It told a story. The alien female said something to her soldiers. They lowered their weapons, but did not put them away. She leaned closer to Jake, the blade still humming near his neck, and studied his tattoo. Her golden eyes moved over the images in the ink. Jake could see her trying to understand what she was looking at. The tattoo was complex and detailed. It showed faces of people, ships in space, and scenes of destruction and rescue. She spoke again, this time in a different tone. The anger was still there, but now there was something else. Curiosity maybe, or confusion. Jake realized she was asking him a question. The translation computer was still working on her language, but he could tell from her voice that she wanted to know about his tattoo. "It is a story," Jake said slowly and clearly. "A story about my people." The alien female tilted her head. She understood some of his words, or maybe just his tone. She pointed at the tattoo with one of her free hands, while keeping the blade steady, with another dot. Maya stepped forward carefully. "Captain, I think she recognizes something in your tattoo. Maybe her people have similar markings." The alien female looked at Maya, then back at Jake. She said something that sounded like a question. Then she touched her own arm where Jake could see faint markings under her armor. Jake understood. She had markings too. Stories written on her. Skin just like his. "You want to know what this means?" Jake said, pointing at his tattoo. "You want to know the story?" The alien female nodded slowly. It was a human gesture, but she seemed to understand it meant yes. She lowered her blade just a little but did not put it away. Jake looked into her golden eyes and saw something he had not expected. She was not just a warrior. She was someone who understood that stories mattered, that the marks people put on their bodies were important. "If I tell you my story, will you listen?" Jake asked. The alien female studied his face for a long moment. Then she spoke one word in her language. Jake did not need the translation computer to understand it. Yes. The alien female stepped back, but kept her glowing blade ready. Jake could see her golden eyes moving over his tattoo again. She was waiting for his story. Jake took a slow breath. This tattoo tells the story of the worst day in human history, and also our greatest day. He pointed to the top of his tattoo where a bright star was drawn in yellow ink. Around the star were small ships that looked like toys compared to the burning light. 6 years ago, we had a colony on Titan. It was one of our moons. 30,000 people lived there. Families, children, old people. They were farmers, and scientists, and teachers. Good people who just wanted to build a new life. The alien female listened. Her soldiers stayed alert, but they were also paying attention to Jake's words. The translation computer was getting better at their language, and Jake could hear soft sounds as it worked. A solar flare hit the colony. Jake continued. Our star sometimes sends out waves of energy. Usually they are not dangerous, but this one was different. It was bigger than anything we had seen before. Jake touched a part of his tattoo that showed Titan covered in flames. The artist had used red and orange ink to show the destruction. Even now, looking at it made Jake remember the fear. The flare destroyed all the protection around the colony. The buildings started to break apart. The air started to leak out into space. People were dying. The alien female made a sound. It might have been sympathy or understanding. Her golden eyes looked sad. "I was a lieutenant then," Jake said. "Young and stupid, and sure I could save everyone. My ship was part of the rescue fleet. We had 24 hours before the colony would be completely destroyed." Jake showed her another part of the tattoo. This section showed human ships flying toward Titan. The ships looked small and weak compared to the burning colony. The smart thing would have been to save who we could and leave. Take the healthy people who could walk to the ships, leave the rest. That is what the computers said we should do. The alien female's head tilted. She seemed confused by this idea. But humans do not think like computers, Jake said. We could not leave anyone behind. Every person mattered. Every life was worth saving. Jake's voice got quieter as he remembered. My girlfriend was on Titan, Dr. Elena Foster. She was a scientist studying how to grow food in space. When the flare hit, she was in the research station with 50 other people. He pointed to a woman's face in the tattoo. The artist had drawn her with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Around her face were smaller images of plants and growing things. The research station was damaged badly. Elena and the others were trapped inside with air running out. My captain said it was too dangerous to go get them. The station might explode if we tried to dock. The alien female leaned closer to see the details in the tattoo. She was studying Elena's face like she was trying to understand something important. I did not listen to my captain, Jake said. I took a shuttle and flew to the research station. It was stupid and dangerous, and I almost died. But I got Elena and the others out. Jake touched a scar on his arm that ran under the tattoo. The alien female saw it, and her eyes went wide. She understood that his markings covered real wounds. Elena was hurt from the radiation. She was dying, and we both knew it. But she was alive when I carried her to the medical ship. She lived long enough to help save 30 other people who had the same kind of hurt. The alien female said something in her language. The translation computer was working better now, and Jake heard the words come through his earpiece. She died. With honor. Yes, Jake said. She died helping others. That is what humans do. Jake showed more of his tattoo. This part showed the evacuation ships. Human vessels of every size and type flying back and forth between the dying colony and the rescue fleet. We saved 200,000 people from Titan, Jake said. We lost 30,000. We also lost 43 ships and over 5,000 crew members. My mentor, Commander Ben Taylor, died when his ship blocked a radiation wave that would have killed a transport full of children. The alien female studied the face of Ben Taylor in the tattoo. The old commander was drawn with tired eyes, but a determined expression. Around his image were small pictures of children's faces. Every face in this tattoo is someone who died that day, Jake said. Every scene shows something that happened. The artist who made this spent 2 years getting every detail right. She interviewed survivors and looked at ship records and medical reports. Jake rolled up his sleeve higher to show more of the tattoo. This is not just decoration. This is memory. This is promise. Every human who was at Titan carries these stories. We carry them so we never forget what people are willing to do for each other. The alien female put her blade away. She stepped closer and extended one of her hands toward Jake's tattoo. She stopped before touching it and looked at his face for permission. Jake nodded. You can touch it. Her fingers were cool and had no fingernails, just smooth tips. She traced some of the lines in the tattoo very gently. When she touched Elena's face, Jake felt his throat get tight with old sadness. Your people mark themselves to remember the dead, the alien female said. The translation was getting much better now. Yes, Jake said. And to remember what they stood for. Elena believed that life was precious. All life, even the smallest. Ben believed that protecting children was the most important job anyone could have. Every person in this tattoo believed that no one should be left behind. The alien female pulled back her own sleeve. Jake saw that her arm was covered with markings too. They were not ink like his tattoo, but they were scars that had been made into patterns. Each scar was different, and they formed complex designs. We also mark ourselves, she said. These scars tell of honor earned in battle. Each mark is a test passed, an enemy defeated, a duty completed. Jake looked at her scars. They were beautiful in their own way, like art made from pain. What do they mean? This one, she said, pointing to a curved scar near her wrist. I earned when I saved my unit from an ambush. This one came when I held a bridge alone against 20 enemies so civilians could escape. Jake saw the similarity. You also protect people who cannot protect themselves. It is called Velthek in our language, she said. The sacred duty to shield the weak with your own body. Your tattoo shows Velthek. Your people have Velthek. She looked at his tattoo again with new understanding. I thought you were weak because you raised your hands instead of showing weapons. I thought you were cowards who would surrender without fighting. But your markings tell a different story. What do raised hands mean to your people? Jake asked. It means you give up. It means you choose shame over death. Warriors who raise their hands in surrender are cast out from our society. Jake understood now. 2 humans raised hands mean we come in peace. We show that we carry no weapons and mean no harm. The alien female made a sound that might have been laughter. Your gesture of peace looks like our gesture of cowardice, but your tattoo shows you are not cowards. She studied Elena's face in the tattoo again. This woman who died, was she your mate? She was going to be, Jake said. We planned to marry, after the Titan mission. She wanted to have children and teach them about growing things in space. And you carry her image forever. I carry all of them forever. Every person who died that day is part of me now. When I make decisions, I think about what they would want me to do. The alien female nodded slowly. You understand honor. Your people understand Velthek. Perhaps we were wrong about humans. The alien female stepped back and spoke rapidly to her 2 soldiers in their musical language. Jake could see them looking at his tattoo with new interest. One of them, a male with darker blue skin, pointed to his own arm where Jake could see similar scar patterns. My warriors want to hear your story as well, the female said. In our culture, stories of Velthek are sacred. They must be witnessed and remembered. More aliens began entering the docking bay from their shuttle. Jake counted 8 of them now, all wearing similar armor and carrying the same humming weapons. But their weapons stayed lowered, and their golden eyes showed curiosity instead of hostility. Maya moved closer to Jake. Captain, should I call for backup? No, Jake said quietly. I think we are past the dangerous part. The alien female heard him and made that sound that might have been laughter. You are correct, human Jake Morrison. I am Zarathik of the Veltar Empire. I lead this honor guard. We came here believing you were invaders or thieves. Your raising of hands confirmed our suspicions. And now, Jake asked, now, I see that your people understand honor in ways my own leaders need to hear about, Zarathik said. But first, tell us more of this Titan story. Show us other markings. Jake looked around the docking bay. More of his crew had arrived, and were watching from a safe distance. He spotted Chief Petty Officer Ryan Brooks near the back. Ryan had been at Titan too. Ryan, Jake called out, come here. The Chief Petty Officer walked forward. He was a big man with gentle eyes and hands, scarred from rescue work. His uniform sleeves were rolled up, and Jake could see the edge of his own Titan tattoo. Ryan was a rescue specialist at Titan, Jake told the aliens. He saved more people than anyone else. Ryan looked nervous, but he nodded to the aliens politely. Captain, show them your arm, Ryan. Ryan hesitated, then rolled up his sleeve completely. His tattoo was different from Jake's, but just as detailed. Where Jake's showed the overall story of the disaster, Ryan's focused on the people he had personally rescued. Dozens of faces looked out from his skin. The aliens moved closer to study Ryan's markings. Zarathik traced some of the faces with her finger. Each face is someone you saved, she asked Ryan. Yes, ma'am, Ryan said. 347 people total. Men, women, children, old folks, anyone I could reach. One of the male aliens spoke up. This child here, why is she marked differently? Ryan looked at the face the alien was pointing to. It was a little girl with bright eyes and a missing tooth. Around her image were small symbols that looked like toys. That's Katie Chen, Ryan said, his voice soft with memory. She was only 6 years old. When I found her, she was trapped under debris in the school building. Her leg was broken and she was scared. What makes her marking special? Zarathic asked. Katie was the first person I saved, Ryan said. When the disaster started, I could have evacuated with the first ships. I was off duty, and no one would have blamed me for leaving. But I heard her crying over the radio, and I could not walk away. Jake watched the aliens as Ryan told his story. Their golden eyes were fixed on his face, and Jake could see they understood the importance of what he was saying. I spent 20 minutes digging Katie out, Ryan continued. 20 minutes, when I could have been getting to safety. But she was just a little kid, and she needed help. And this changed everything for you, Zarathic said. It was not a question. Yes, ma'am. After I got Katie to the medical ship, I went back. And I kept going back until there was no one left to save. Every time I thought about leaving, I remembered how scared she was and how much she needed someone to help her. The male alien who had asked about Katie spoke again. You chose to risk your life for strangers. They were not strangers after I helped them, Ryan said. They were my responsibility. Zarathic turned to Jake. Are all humans like this? Do all your people carry such markings? Not all, Jake said honestly. Many humans have never been in situations where they had to choose between safety and helping others. But yes, this is how we think. This is what we believe is right. Jake called out to the watching crew members. Who else here has memorial tattoos? 6 more crew members stepped forward. Each one rolled up sleeves or loosened uniforms to show their own markings. Dr. Amy Patterson had faces of patients she could not save during a plague outbreak. Engineer Carlos Martinez carried images of the factory workers he had evacuated during an industrial accident. Communications officer Lisa Wong had symbols representing the distress calls she had answered during her career. The aliens moved among the humans, studying each tattoo and asking questions about the stories they told. Jake could see wonder in their golden eyes. They were beginning to understand that what they were seeing was not unusual for humans, but was actually normal. In our culture, Zarathic said to Jake, such markings are rare. Only the greatest warriors earn the right to carry Velthic scars. To see so many of your people bearing such marks is surprising. Why are they rare for your people? Maya asked. She had been quiet during the exchanges, but Jake could see her scientific mind working. Because Velthic requires perfect selflessness, Zarathic explained. To earn these markings, a warrior must risk everything to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Most choose easier paths to honor. Jake understood. But for humans, protecting others is not about earning honor. It is just what we do. This is what makes your people unusual, Zarathic said, and why my leaders need to know about you. A new sound echoed through the docking bay. It was deep and musical, like a horn being blown somewhere in the distance. The alien soldiers immediately stood straighter and moved their hands to their weapons. High Commander Kethver comes, Zarathic said. He leads our expedition and must approve any decisions about your people. Jake felt his heart speed up again. Is that good or bad? That depends on whether he believes what we have learned here today, Zarathic said. Kethver is old and traditional. He has fought many battles and earned many scars. But he has also seen too much war and death. He may not trust easily. The horn sound came again, closer this time. Jake could hear movement in the alien shuttle as more beings prepared to board his ship. What should I do? Jake asked. Zarathik looked at his tattoo one more time. Tell him the truth about your people. Show him your markings, and explain what they mean. If Kethver sees Velthak in your actions, he will recognize you as allies. And if he does not, then we will have a much bigger problem than a simple misunderstanding. The first figure appeared in the shuttle doorway. Jake could see this alien was older than the others, with silver patterns mixed into his blue skin. He wore more elaborate armor and moved with the careful dignity of someone used to command. High Commander Kethver had arrived to judge whether humans were worthy of survival. High Commander. Kethver entered the docking bay with slow, measured steps. He was taller than the other aliens, and his armor was decorated with silver symbols that seemed to move in the light. His golden eyes were older and harder than Zarathik's, like someone who had seen too much war. Behind him came another alien that Jake had not seen before. This one was smaller and wore robes instead of armor. Her skin was a deeper blue and covered with intricate patterns that looked like writing. She carried no weapons, but something about her made Jake feel nervous. High Commander, Zarathik said, bowing her head respectfully. I present Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Endeavor. Kethver studied Jake with those ancient golden eyes. When he spoke, his voice was deep and carried the weight of authority. Zarathik tells me you claim your people possess This is a serious claim. Many species have made similar boasts to avoid destruction. I make no claims about my people as a whole, Jake said carefully. I can only tell you what I have seen and what I believe. Show me your markings. Jake rolled up his sleeve again and displayed his tattoo. Kethver moved closer and examined the images with the same careful attention Zarathik had shown, but his expression remained neutral. Pictures on skin prove nothing, Kethver said. Any species can put decorations on their bodies. I have seen pirates and slavers with elaborate markings that they claimed showed honor. The smaller alien in robes stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. I am Warsinger Nexara, keeper of honor records for our people. I have served as witness to Velthak ceremonies for 60 years. If this human truly possesses such honor, there is a way to verify it. Jake felt his stomach drop. What kind of verification? Among our people, those who claim Velthak must submit to the truth-telling ceremony. The Warsinger enters your mind and experiences your memories directly. Lies cannot survive this process. Maya grabbed Jake's arm. Captain, that sounds incredibly dangerous. We know nothing about their mental abilities, or what they might do to your brain. Kethver's eyes narrowed. Fear of the truth-telling is often a sign of deception. If your markings tell true stories, you have nothing to worry about. Jake looked at his crew members gathered around the docking bay. They were all watching him, waiting to see what he would decide. He thought about Alina and Ben Taylor and all the others whose faces were permanently etched into his skin. What exactly does this ceremony involve? Jake asked. Nexara explained in her musical voice. I will place my hands on your head and open a connection between our minds. I will see your memories of the events shown in your markings. I will feel what you felt, know what you knew, understand what motivated your actions. And if my memories are false, or if I am lying, then the connection will cause severe damage to your mind. You may lose your ability to think clearly or remember things. In extreme cases, the trauma can be fatal. Jake's crew shifted nervously. Ryan stepped forward. Captain, you do not have to do this. We can find another way to prove ourselves. But Jake was already shaking his head. No, Ryan. If this is what it takes to prevent a war between our species, then this is what we do. Kethver studied Jake's face. You would risk your mind and your life to protect your people. I would risk anything to protect them, Jake said. That is what the tattoo means. That is what Alina and Ben and all the others died for. Very well, Kethver said. We will perform the ceremony. But know this, human. If you are deceiving us, If your markings are false decorations meant to manipulate our emotions, I will personally see that your ship and everyone on it is destroyed. Nexera began preparing for the ceremony. She produced a small device from her robes that looked like a crystal with metal wires wrapped around it. She placed it on the floor between herself and Jake. "Sit facing me," she instructed. "Place your hands on the crystal. I will do the same. When the connection forms, do not try to resist it. Let me see what I need to see." Jake sat cross-legged on the cold metal floor. The crystal felt warm under his palms and began to glow with soft blue light. Nexera placed her hands opposite his and closed her eyes. "Think about the day your markings commemorate," she said. "Remember the beginning of the disaster. Let the memories flow naturally." Jake closed his eyes and let his mind drift back to that terrible day 6 years ago. He remembered the alarm klaxons, the frantic radio calls, the sight of Titan burning in space. He felt the fear and desperation of that time wash over him again. The crystal grew warmer. Jake felt something probing at the edges of his consciousness, like gentle fingers touching his thoughts. Then suddenly, Nexera was there inside his mind, seeing through his eyes, feeling through his heart. Together they experienced the horror of the solar flare. Nexera felt Jake's terror when he realized Alina was trapped on the research station. She shared his determination to save her, despite the orders to abandon the mission. She lived through the desperate flight to the damaged station and the race to evacuate the survivors. Most importantly, she felt Jake's grief when Alina died in his arms. She experienced the moment when he chose to keep fighting, to keep saving people, even though the person he loved most was gone. She understood that his tattoo was not just a decoration, but a sacred promise to never forget. The ceremony lasted for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. When Nexera finally pulled back from Jake's mind, both of them were trembling. The crystal had gone dark and felt cool again. Nexera opened her eyes, and Jake saw that they were filled with tears. She turned to Kethfer and spoke in a voice that shook with emotion. "Hi, Commander. I have seen the truth of this human's memories. His markings tell of genuine Velthak, of the highest order. He and his people risked everything to save others, expecting no reward and accepting terrible losses." She paused and wiped her eyes. "More than this, I have seen that for humans, such behavior is not rare or extraordinary. It is simply what they believe is right. This Captain Morrison considers his actions at Titan to be normal, even though they surpass the greatest acts of honor in our own history." Kethfer stared at Jake with new respect in his ancient eyes. "You truly stayed to save people you had never met, knowing you might die." "Yes," Jake said simply. "How could we do anything else? Most species would have saved themselves and called it wisdom. Then most species do not understand what it means to be responsible for each other." Kethfer was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached up and began removing a piece of his armor. Underneath, Jake could see his arms were covered with more honor scars than anyone else, layer upon layer of marks that told of a lifetime of battlefield courage. "In 60 years of war, I have never earned a scar for Velthak," Kethfer said quietly. "I have been brave in battle and clever in strategy, but I have never risked everything to protect those weaker than myself." He looked at Jake's tattoo again. "Your people possess something we have almost forgotten. You have reminded us what true honor looks like." Kethfer turned to his warriors. "Send word to the Empress. Tell her we have found a species worthy of alliance. Tell her the humans possess Velthak beyond our greatest warriors." Jake felt relief flood through him. "Does this mean we have peace between our peoples?" "More than peace," Kethver said. "If the Empress agrees, you will have partnership. Your people and mine will stand together." He gestured to Jake's tattoo. "And perhaps your memorial traditions will remind us of what we should truly be fighting for." 3 days later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, watching the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. Through the main screen, he could see 5 massive alien ships approaching in perfect formation. The largest was 10 times the size of any human vessel, covered in golden decorations that caught the light of the system's star. "Captain," Maya said from her station, "we are receiving a transmission from the lead ship. The translation computer says it is Empress Valandra herself." Jake straightened his uniform and tried to calm his racing heart. In 3 days, word of the human encounter had traveled across the Veltar Empire. Now, the supreme ruler of their civilization was coming to meet him personally. The main screen changed to show the interior of the alien flagship. Jake found himself looking at the most magnificent being he had ever seen. Empress Valandra was tall, even for a Veltar, with skin that shimmered between blue and silver. Her forearms were covered in honor scars that formed intricate patterns. Her armor was made from some material that looked like liquid starlight. "Captain Morrison," the Empress said, her voice carrying absolute authority, "I have traveled across space to meet the human who carries Veltak markings." Kethfer's report was difficult to believe. "Your Majesty," Jake said, bowing his head, respectfully, "I am honored by your presence. Show me these markings that have caused such excitement among my people." Jake rolled up his sleeve once again. By now, he had displayed his tattoo dozens of times to various Veltar officials who had come to verify Kethfer's claims. Each time, the reaction was the same: wonder, respect, and a kind of sadness that such honor was apparently common among humans. Empress Valandra studied the images on Jake's arm through the screen. Even across space, he could feel the intensity of her golden gaze. "Warsinger Nexara has shared her memories of your truth-telling ceremony with me," the Empress said. "I have experienced your grief and your determination through her mind. I have felt what it means to choose duty over survival." She paused, and Jake saw something in her ancient eyes that might have been regret. "My people have forgotten what we once knew about honor. We have become warriors who fight for territory and resources, instead of protectors who shield the weak. Your species has reminded us of what we should be." "Your Majesty, we do not consider ourselves special," Jake said. "We simply do what we believe is right." "That is exactly what makes you special," the Empress replied. "Most species do what is profitable or safe or easy. You do what is right even when it costs you everything." The transmission paused as the Empress consulted with someone off-screen. When she turned back to Jake, her expression had changed to something more formal. "Captain Morrison, by the authority granted to me as ruler of the Veltar Empire, I hereby declare you and your people to be brothers and sisters of honor. You are granted all the rights and protections of our most valued allies." Jake felt his knees go weak with relief. "Thank you, Your Majesty. This means more than you know. Furthermore," the Empress continued, "I am creating a new honor marking for my people. The Veltak human, a scar pattern that tells of alliance with your species. Any Veltar who earns this marking will be considered among our greatest warriors." 2 hours later, Jake found himself aboard the Imperial flagship in a ceremony unlike anything in human history. The Empress herself used a traditional Veltar blade to carve a small honor scar into Jake's right arm, making him the first human to bear official Veltar markings. The scar was simple but meaningful. It showed 2 figures, one human and one Veltar, standing back to back with weapons raised to protect a group of smaller figures representing civilians. "This marking shows that you and your people will stand with us to protect those who cannot protect themselves," the Empress explained as she worked. "In return, we will share our defensive technologies and our knowledge of the galaxy." Jake gritted his teeth against the pain of the carving. What does this alliance mean practically? It means that human ships will carry Veltar shields and weapons designed for protection rather than conquest, the Empress said. It means that Veltar ships will learn human evacuation protocols and rescue procedures. Together, we will build something new. The ceremony concluded with Jake receiving a crystal pendant that would identify him to any Veltar as a brother of honor. The crystal was warm against his chest and seemed to pulse with its own light. 1 year later, Jake stood on the bridge of the UHSVEL Sanctuary, the first joint human Veltar vessel ever built. Half the crew was human, half was Veltar, and they worked together like they had been partners for decades. His tattoo had grown over the year. The original Titan memorial was still there, but now it was surrounded by new images, faces of Veltar warriors who had died protecting human colonies. Scenes of joint rescue operations that had saved thousands of lives across the galaxy. Symbols representing the friendship between two species who had found common ground in their shared values. "Captain," Maya called out from her station. She had been promoted to first officer and wore her own small Veltar honor scar with pride. "We are receiving a distress signal from the Kepler 438 system. Multiple ships in danger, civilian population at risk." Jake looked around his bridge. Human and Veltar officers worked side by side, their different biologies and cultures united by a common purpose. On the wall hung banners from both civilizations, but also a new flag that represented their alliance. "All stations, prepare for emergency jump," Jake ordered. "Signal the fleet. We have people to save." The sanctuary leaped into hyperspace, followed by a dozen other ships. Human vessels with Veltar shields flew alongside Veltar ships equipped with human medical bays. The fleet was not designed for conquest or war, but for rescue and protection as they traveled toward the emergency. Jake touched his tattoo and thought about Elena. He wondered what she would think of how far humanity had come, from a single disaster on Titan to an alliance that spanned the stars. All because people were willing to risk everything for strangers. The distress signal grew stronger as they approached their destination. Jake could see on the scanner that they would be arriving at another disaster. Another test of whether people would choose to help or to save themselves. But looking around his bridge at the faces of humans and Veltar working together, Jake was not worried. They would do what was right. They would save who they could. They would add new faces to their memorial tattoos and new stories to their honor scars. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species would hear about what happened and maybe begin to understand that the strongest civilizations were not the ones with the biggest weapons, but the ones with the biggest hearts. Jake's tattoo was almost complete now, covering both arms and starting to spread across his chest. Each image told a story of sacrifice and service, of people who chose to help instead of hurt. But he knew it would never truly be finished, as long as there were people in danger. As long as there were lives to save, there would always be new stories worth remembering. And Jake Morrison, captain of the sanctuary, brother of honor to the Veltar Empire, would be there to help write them.